The Mini 3 Pro was an April drone, and what do you know, just in time to get your dad a Christmas present, we've got a regular Mini 3 that just came out. The first big question, when they cut off the Pro bit, what do our DJI overlords plan to take from our lives? Good news, the most important thing, you aren't losing any photo quality, so the camera is the same, sensor's the same, the picture quality is all there, and you can stop watching if that's all you came for. We don't lose any flight time either, or still photo quality, has the same range, the same wind resistance. The regular Mini 3 Pro batteries work with the new ones, thank God, because I really didn't want to have to deal with that. Same with the ND filters. Thank God they are the same, because that would have been really annoying. I would have had to handwrite a letter to express my concerns. I haven't seen a big drop in quality anywhere, and the price is still insane to me to be able to get this much. I know I've said that a million times, but even just to start, this was like such a good deal. It's pro quality footage. You can sell this stuff online. If you're stingy or you're poor, congratulations, because you saved a couple $100. You also have the vertical camera still, that isn't missing. You've got an option to buy this with a smart remote, which I've enjoyed so much that it might inspire more handwritten letters. You can't expect massive changes to the technology 8 months after the initial drone comes out. So what they do is they cut off some of the features that made it more expensive and kept you on the fence from buying in the first place. Then you get a simpler version for cheaper, and you get nice little updates like the newer firmware, so the drone has a little bit better image quality or it runs smoother. Two big things being knocked off. The first, collision sensors are not on the front and the back. If you haven't flown a drone at all and you're a little anxious, or you are a land walking walrus trying to imitate having opposable thumbs, you're probably going to be dependent on those. Those are important to you, and I can understand why you would need those. If you're doing fast, risky flying, sure, it's helpful to have those. You still have bottom sensors though, so when you're landing, it will detect the ground. It won't just fly straight to the, Ironically though, beginners are the ones who need the collision sensors the most, because you panic and you press up when you're facing the opposite way, and then you forget which direction, and then sometimes, if it's worth a little bit more to you, just for the peace of mind, the collision sensors, I can understand. Otherwise, if you just aren't that clumsy of a person and you've played video games your whole life, you're probably going to be fine. I never crashed the Mini 2. It didn't have any remotes. I've got a friend, I've said before in the Mini 3 Pro review about how much I'm trying to date that drone. My buddy has crashed like 3 of these things. He is the walrus though, so it's not everybody that's like that. The second thing, no other color profiles except for normal profile. Most of the time I'm shooting in normal anyways. You don't really need decent alike if you aren't planning on color grading your footage in an editor, so it's cool to have, not the end of the world. Normal profile is good enough that you don't need much more than that, and if you are a little off, there's enough data in this footage that you can adjust it enough to make up for any issues. Like if the trees in the foreground are a little dark, you have so much data there that you can pull it up. But again, professional feature, a couple $100 extra if you're doing this for work or you just want the best. These are already so cheap, why not? On the Mini 3 Pro, you have 60 frames a second in 4K. You also have Mastershots. I don't really care because I never use those. The new Mini 3 only does 30 frames a second. Both of these could matter less to me though, because I'm always shooting at 24 frames a second, and for the millionth time, drone footage is in the air, it's far away. Really often I have to speed up my footage, but I never ever have to slow down my footage. I'm always shooting 24 frames a second. Hyperlapses aren't a feature on this new Mini 3. They're kind of hard to do, and that is a pro feature that most people won't use. This might not be important to you, it's important to me. I have so much fun with hyperlapses. I spend tons of time doing them because I do them manually through Adobe Lightroom, like a different way. I can understand it takes processing power. Maybe there's a smaller processor in this drone. I have no idea. But it's a feature they removed because that's, I guess, more of a professional feature. But again, that's not much to lose for a couple $100. If this, at this price, doesn't knock your socks off and you still aren't happy, then you might be the problem, and perhaps look within. Keeping the vertical camera on was another gift from our generous DJI gods. Again, if you're a content creator, that's your jam. I wind up doing both though, because sometimes I want to have the wide one for using it in normal stuff. It's also full 4K too. It's not cutting the quality in half because it's doing this little magic trick. Because of all the things it does and the price, this is going to replace the Mini 2. That means if you were waiting for a Mini 2, now is the best time to buy one, because people who have one will immediately sell it for the Mini 3, and it'll just be cheaper in general. So look on Facebook Marketplace or on Craigslist. You'll probably find a lot of them, and buying a used drone is okay. And I've bought used drones. Typically you can tell right away if something's wrong with it. And that drone still kicked. I mean, even just the Mini 2 was a heck of a drone. I still love it. This one is a little quieter though, and not as whiny when it's flying. Both great drones though. These are my children, and I am their Khaleesi. That's another big experience thing. If this is your first drone, it's a lot smoother of a flyer. Looks cooler too, the way it's hanging, versus the Mini 2, which was just like After you've used a Mini 3 or a drone this size, the biggest advantage compared to the bigger ones, it's not this flying $3,000 automatic knife. It's like, even if you crash this thing against a tree, is that the end of the world? It's a couple $100. One job could pay that off that you're filming with this thing. You can fit in between trees or like over a rooftop at a hotel or something, and it's not like everybody stops and looks at what you're doing. Cannot stress that enough how nice that is to have. If the quality difference between a Mavic 3 or an Inspire 2 and the Mini 2 or Mini 3 isn't that important, if it's just daytime footage, you won't notice a big difference anyway. So it's starting to fit into that like GoPro realm of, it gets good enough quality that we can like put this on TV, but it's also cheap enough that if it crashes, it's not the end of the world. So this is like a disposable Mavic 3. The footage I'm showing you is basically shot from camera because I don't know if you're going to color grade, I don't know if you're going to use LumaFusion or like your iPhone to try and edit or something, so I've adjusted the color a little bit, maybe brightened it some if it's dark, but for the most part, yeah, this is what you can expect to get from this thing. Photos, phenomenal. 12 megapixels is plenty. If you don't suck at photography, there's a million ways to work around this. Some people are worried about missing out on a 20 megapixel drone like the Air 2S. If you're shooting like action sports or something, yeah, 20 megapixels is nice if you don't have the time to set things up, but you can work around so much even with a smaller sensor and 12 megapixels. Just shoot panoramic. You know, you get like 100 megapixels or something when you're done with that. It does a great job. And again, raw format, a million years ahead of video technology. You can do so much with raw format. It's so flexible. Long exposures on this thing, simply divine. The trade-off for the price used to be terrible low light performance, but we've come far enough that now you can use this stuff even with an ISO this high. The software is helping to clean it up enough that it comes out usable. None of these drones are going to give you insane low light performance. This is a small sensor. Remember, you're not going to get crazy nighttime footage. None of these drones will give you insane nighttime footage. Even my Inspire 2, it's very good but not perfect, but if you knew how painful this was before, you would be impressed with how far we've come this fast. Doing side-by-sides with the Mini 3 Pro is weird. It feels like when I made the Mavic 3 Classic review, I did side-by-sides with the regular Mavic 3, but what's the point? It's the same camera, so they're identical. Here we have normal profile on the Mini 3 and the Mini 3 Pro. This is a scene that has a ton of dynamic range, super bright spots, super dark spots. To see footage that's overwhelming for the camera, we're going to try and edit the color to see how much we can recover. With the Mini 3 Pro, this footage has a lot of data, it's very flexible, and it's impressive that you can go this far. And then with the Mini 3, it's the same way. Tons of data, it's very flexible, and you have a lot of room to recover, even in areas that are overblown. Like I said before, the descent-alike profile is helpful in emergencies, but it's not like if it's missing, you shouldn't buy the drone because this footage is very flexible. While using this drone, I'm running beta firmware. Things like exposure balance should look different here. This should be brighter in the foreground. Even during testing with that going on, you can still recover this much shadow and it's almost not noticeable. You just have to do a little bit of editing in Lumetri color with Premiere Pro. They fixed this already, so you won't really have to worry about that. And a huge plus is that you can get this now with a smart remote. A nice, big, beautiful, bright screen changes your experience so much you will fly twice as much, I guarantee you, if you don't have to involve your phone, finagle it into that weird remote holder. It's a beautiful remote. It works really well. You used to have to pay a ton of money for something like this. This thing makes me happier than any relationship ever could. This also means you can use your phone while you're flying your drone. Can't stress how much of a life improvement that is. Okay, so if you go buy this thing and you're new, or you're buying this for your dad, you don't need a million accessories. You need one extra battery. You need those ND filters. If you don't know what that means, I don't know, watch another video. I'm not your dad. Figure it out. If you are interested in the Mini 3 Pro, I've got a really big long review of that with a lot more footage and a lot more pros and cons weighed because I had more time to work with that thing. And it's got 1 million something views. Can you believe that? What the heck? On my channel? If you're a nervous Nelly, there's an option for insurance for you. DJI has really good insurance. I see people posting about it, happy with it all the time in Facebook groups, which if it's for work, it just makes a lot of sense. If you want to get the most out of your drone, I teach a course on cinematography and editing for drone footage. I show you how I'm making money doing this, so it's an online course. That's why I have time to make these really long in-depth videos. I'll put a discount link to it in the description. As far as the Mini 3 goes, this will be the best dad gift of this year probably, and he will love you. Finally, by Alex.